Hello, I'm your host Jim McClean. Welcome back to another episode of the Banterflix movie review show here on NVTV. Let's see what movies we'll be talking about tonight. We'll be reviewing A Big Bold Beautiful Journey starring Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell, which is out in cinemas now, along with Strange Journey, the story of Rocky Horror, which is released next month. And we'll wrap up with our pick of the streams, Pixar's Elio on Disney+. So that's what we've lined up for you this week, and joining me here in the studio is the lovely Sara-Gunn Smith.
Hello.
And Alan Meban.
Good to be back.
Hello to you both. Sarah, you're making your debut on the TV show. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
I work for Film Hub NI to increase audiences for independent film across the north, and I'm also a part-time filmmaker.
Because one of the things we wanted to talk about too was Gamma Bomb Survival of the Fastest, because I know I had the joy of hosting a Q&A a few months ago now at Newcastle Community Cinema about the project. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about it?
Gamma Bomb Survival of the Fastest is a totally kind of DIY punk documentary about Newry's infamous thrash metal band Gamma Bomb, and it's not what you expect. I know you've seen it. It's sort of Spinal Tap in real life, and it's just about friendship and love and music and art, and it was very DIY project. It's been winning awards, and it will be going on streaming at the end of the year, and there will be a physical release, 666 copies.
Okay, so watch this space now. Al, I don't know if you've seen the film.
I haven't.
You have the look of me as someone who would be a thrash metal fan.
Thank you.
Of the Newry scene. Are you intrigued by this project?
Living in the other city that got made at the same time as Newry, living in Lisburn, I'm only delighted to figure out that Newry had a thrash metal scene, because Lisburn clearly didn't. Okay. Though later on, music kind of bands did quite well from Lisburn, weirdly. But these are the kind of local documentaries, but they're looking back, the nostalgia, but also the hidden stories of those people, many of whom are still a little bit thrashy probably today.
Yeah, as I said, I'm a big fan of the documentary, and Alan, I know it's 2025, we can bring the thrash metal scene to Lisburn. We both live there. That's something we thought that's going to be coming up later on in the year. I think we'll move on and chat a bit about some movie news.
Yes! Impressive.
So that's a look at the trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's going to be hitting cinemas next year. Alan, you did a little faux pas before we started to record. You referred to as the cutesy little baby Grogu as Baby Yoda. We've moved on from that, but clearly you haven't. But you said you're a fan of this series on Disney+. So are you looking forward to seeing this make the move to the big screen next year?
I'm curious how it'll work, because I'm kind of used to, when you stream something over 6 or 8 episodes, the overall story arc is quite long. You get lots of little kind of B-plots every week. But actually you don't get that. You get a much more compressed thing when it happens in the cinema. And occasionally there are films that you think that would have been a great series. It'll just be interesting to see whether you can kind of capture the environment, whether they film it the same way with the kind of the LED back wall and things.
We've said it quite a few times on this show over the last couple of years. Why has that been released? Like, I think off the top of my head, I think of Hocus Pocus 2. That's went to a streaming service, whether you like that film or not. But as, again, I hate the phrase, as IP, it would have got bums on seats. So I guess from a cinema exhibitor's point of view, yes, it's great that we can show indie features, films made from here, left field, foreign cinema, but there are films we have to accept. And I come back to that. It sounds like I'm obsessed. Get bums on seats.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole distribution landscape has changed so significantly over the past sort of 5 to 10 years. And I think COVID just moved that on, maybe what might have taken 5 to 10 years or, longer than that. How often do we read, cinema's dead, nobody goes to the cinema. But actually when releases like this, or, Wicked 2 or Zootropolis 2, you can tell what I'm looking forward to, come out, then that's what, you know, they're referred to as tentpole titles for a reason. They keep the rest of the industry going. So yeah, all good.
We said earlier, it's out in cinemas next year. Well, let's move on to something that's on the big screen right now.
But I think that's my high school. No, wait.
What?
You know, high school.
It's okay. Come on.
David, you're late. Come on. How old am I?
15.
I'm 15.
Cool. How old am I?
I don't know, 40?
I'm gonna kill you. This one's for me. I used to come here with my mom. Nice to share this with someone again.
So that's a look at the trailer for A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. As we said in the opening credits, stars Margot Robbie, Colin Farrell. It's out in cinemas now. There are hints here of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. We have the meet cute. We have our central characters going off on a journey with a lovely Phoebe Waller-Bridge with her bizarre German accent. We have Calvin Klein in there as well. This is a cutesy feature, rom-com of sorts. Sarah, what do you think?
I went into this thinking this was rom-com and it wouldn't be the sort of film that I would go and see. I would stick it on in the house if, you know, if it was on I wanted to see it. I really enjoyed it, and I tell you why I really enjoyed it, because to me, I think it's been marketed slightly, not wrongly. I'm not going to judge the studio's marketing, but it's...
Sarah, marketing people will sell their souls to
yes,
get you to buy the cinema ticket.
That's true. That is true. Well, this film to me, it reminded me of my favourite film of a couple of years ago that was so unbearably sad that I can't watch it again, All of Us Strangers. It's like that. It's like a big budget, straight version of All of Us Strangers, and I thought it was a study in loneliness.
Yes.
I thought it was, you know, their big beautiful journey was actually their lives and stuff that everybody goes through this journey to their lives. And I did read some stuff about people not really buying the chemistry between the two of them, but I thought they were both very flawed characters. And I thought, I loved that Colin Farrell was Irish in it, because it felt realer.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. My mum wept uncontrollably. So I really enjoyed it.
Well,
Okay.
I have to say, I didn't dislike this. I just didn't love it. And I really thought, I stayed away from the trailers, so I can't say if marketing people misled me. I just knew from kind of reading a little bit about it that there was that kind of echoes of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. You're able to look back and kind of go through pivotal points in your life and talk about it. And I say, if you were to use AI, ChatGPT, to go, here is a film that Jim McClean will love, in theory, this is it. And I don't know, and it's not to do with chemistry. I didn't have that issue. I just didn't buy it. It's fine. I don't dislike it. I have read some reviews where people have really taken a dislike to it. I don't think it's as sugary sweet as I thought it was going to be. It's not trudging through treacle. It just didn't work for me now. But Alan, Sarah, I didn't know, because you said just before you have a lot of things to talk about this film. But Alan actually messaged me going, what three, I think this is giving the game away,
Yes.
what three lovely films we are talking about this week. So,
Which is not what Sarah was expecting from me
it's
on this film.
it's not what I'm expecting, because normally, Alan, you come in and there's something
So
that
you want to
like,
find out why.
something not so. We've given the game away. You like this film.
I quite like this film. I mean, I don't think it's going to win Oscars.
No.
And I don't think it deserves to. I like the fact that we don't often get magic realism on screen. We get it in books a lot, but we don't tend to get it as often on screen. And I thought it was done quite well. I mean, I think if you're going to go on a journey, having some of the kind of plot devices or things like there's a kind of a GPS that takes them on this journey.
That looks like HAL from 2001.
And that's deliberate, and it conspires kind of against them to force them into these situations. They learn there are kind of portals into other important times in their lives. And as a couple who are not a couple, because they're two dorks who went to a wedding, basically. But I thought overall, I mean, naming loneliness in a big box office film, I think is really important. Just naming all those things about reevaluating love and life and family, there's a thing about being content. Happiness will follow contentment. So go for the contentment, let the happiness follow. There's a lot of stuff in it that really works, I think, quite well. And in a sense, it doesn't really matter. It's quite anti-romantic in many ways. And it was enjoyable as this isn't actually a rom-com. It's also really funny because it rains. It rains like you're in Belfast until the rain just gets turned off like a tap, and you kind of think of how difficult that was. Never mind Margot having to talk with a cheeseburger in her mouth, and how many cheeseburgers did she go through, and the mechanics of doing that would be amazing to watch. The pair of them,
really enjoyed that burger.
Phoebe Bridgewater as well. I mean, they all looked like they were really into the fact that this was just a little bit surreal, and they could go to town with it. And for me, if you commit to it, it was a good film. It's not going to be my top 10 of the year, but it was a jolly good reason to go out to the cinema and see it.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually, looking at these themes in the film and stuff, it's hard to understand or it's hard to think about how somebody in their teens, 20s, probably even 30s would relate to the film. But as people who are maybe slightly older, maybe having to look back.
Talk about yourself here.
Yes, I am, but only me. That it maybe made more of a connection from people maybe in their 40s upwards, just looking back, having that second chance at certain things and stuff like that.
I think it's just an interesting that even got through the process of being made. Somebody came up with the kind of the pitch for that and the scripting of it, and then decided to make it using that kind of magic realism, and something that's actually could have been a kind of a rom-com. There's another version of it that with kind of about half an hour you could kind of change the script, and it would be very, very different.
Great. Actually, I have to say the weakest point, I think the script was a bit.
Some of the dialogue is cheesy and it's on its nose, and I think when it's things like that, are things then you go, this isn't working for me. And I think, Sarah, you've touched on this, and we've all kind of mentioned this, the fact that I think this is a film that it's a problem to sell. Yeah. So I actually found a little blurb from Sony, who are distributing this feature, and it's opening line, I think, sells you everything you need to know about this. Some doors bring you to your past, some doors lead you to your future, and some doors change everything. And that's not the film that you watch. That's someone who's trying to kind of sum something up very pithily and to make it as palatable for an audience, to get them in. I've literally just come from the screening to the studio. So maybe I haven't had time to compress it all, take it all in. Maybe you both have had a little bit longer. There are moments already sticking in my head. There's a really powerful scene, which is understated, between Colin Farrell's character and his father in a hospital. And it got a little bit dusty in the screening I was in for me. But it's just that there's individual parts I like. I just think when you mush it together, it didn't really work for me, and it didn't help when it had a really tweedy, cheesy soundtrack that I think just it wasn't for me. You can't always agree on every film, and I think it's better for the audience. A bit of confrontation here in the studio. And on that note, let's move on to our second feature of the evening.
We opened and it was a phenomenal success.
We created immersive theatre.
People were rushing to get in and see it. This was something alive.
We were allowed to make a movie.
We just worked our asses off.
There was something about not having money. It added to the edginess of it.
So that's a look at Strange Journey, the story of Rocky Horror. I have my fishnets underneath the desk. The beauty of the desk, it hides all kinks. But I don't know where I'm going with that story.
Because people are watching this at tea time.
But Alan, people are watching this at tea time. They don't need to see me in fishnets. I haven't shaved the legs this week, but I am a Rocky Horror fan. I do get a sense, like I alluded to earlier on with our first feature, this is something I think was always going to be something I was going to like. And here's when we get differing, because the last time on Big, Bold and Beautiful Journey, something I thought I was going to like, I came out of it going, oh, I wasn't fussed. Here we have a documentary, and so you just reminded us that it screened at Docs Ireland early this year, sold out, screening early in the year. It's going to be available on a limited theatrical release. It is going to be available on VOD platforms from, I believe, the 20th of October. and I'm really letting the cat out of the bag, saying I'm going to say, seek this out. Whether you're a Rocky Horror fan or not, this is just an absolutely fabulous documentary that is so much more in my eyes than a DVD extra as Rocky celebrates its anniversary, it's 40th, 50th anniversary
50th.
This year? 50th anniversary.
50th anniversary tour of the stage show.
So Alan, you haven't seen Rocky Horror the movie, you've seen the stage play.
So I've, because I review theatre, I've seen the stage play basically every time it comes through Belfast. So about 4 or 5 times.
Do you get your fishnets on for the screening?
I don't. I am the world's largest introvert, but I enjoy everybody else doing it. I enjoy the fact that I know some of the call-outs now, but don't say them, but appreciate other people. I enjoy when there's a good narrator in the theatre who actually has got some local stuff. Newry got slagged the last time, and they should have really gone for Larne. It would have worked better with the line. I did discover, though, that the film is on Disney Plus. So I did watch it just before I watched the documentary. So I've finally seen it because of you, Jim. This is not, for me, it wasn't a terribly exciting documentary, though I didn't learn a whole lot of things there was no scandal in it. I didn't learn a whole lot that I didn't kind of suspect. For me, the best bit is actually Richard O'Brien sitting with a guitar. Richard O'Brien will not be dancing, cutting up the floor of a nightclub any day soon. His mobility isn't as good, but his voice and just kind of picking the tunes out on a guitar, and it was just gorgeous to kind of hear him kind of bring to life, in a sense, as if he was writing them on. It was as if he was nearly making them up as he went, and it was just lovely to kind of see that and to get that captured before he gets to an age where that will no longer happen. So for me, it's very bland compared to the in-your-faceness of the actual film or of the stage show. But there were moments that were just a little bit kind of emotional. There were moments when it kind of deals with, we hear from some of the fans what it means to them. We hear the kind of notion that it's very much a kind of a crossover film for straight and queer people. The kind of dressing up, lots of people dressing up who don't normally dress up. And there's a kind of a liberation to it on screen and by people going to see it. And there's just a little moment in it when you kind of start to think about today's society. We think of what's happening in America, we think a little bit of what's happening here and some of the big issues, and realising that actually this film is not, I think somebody says in it, it's not a relic, it's actually still quite true. And so yeah, it wasn't boring, but it was bland, but it still was meaningful, I think, to kind of capture what's going on behind the craziness of Rocky Horror when it's on a screen or in a theatre.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head for me as to why I really like this. I think after watching this film, I came away going, the world needs more Richard O'Briens, in that sense of not only the film's legacy, and there's some really genuinely touching moments in this, where it's people talking about what this film means to them in terms of being able to come out and see themselves, because we always thought that people want to see themselves represented on screen, and hey, I am no Tim Curry as Frankenfurter in that, but it's that sense that we see what a film, what art can do and what cinema can do, and that's why I get the point you're saying where it's maybe a little bland. I don't think it feels like a glorified DVD extra that we get on companion pieces when a film is re-released for the umpteenth time. There is a bit of substance there. I think the fact that we have, I think it's Linus O'Brien, Richard O'Brien's son, that sense that there's that intimacy there that maybe breaks down a little bit of the barriers, that someone's maybe willing to be a little bit more vulnerable, particularly on some of the kind of topics when it's personally about Richard O'Brien, that I don't know if you would get, say, if it was maybe one of the three of us sitting down to do an interview with Richard O'Brien. I know he can be, from history, he's a private figure, he can be a bit prickly with some interviews, he's eccentric, but I think the fact that here he's dealing with his son and obviously other cast members, and as someone who has done a couple of interviews with Patricia Quinn, knows what kind of a figure she can be like and what type of interviewee she can be, eccentric. And I think the fact that they're dealing with a director that is directly related to the Richard O'Brien, and yeah, I just thought this was lovely. And I think in the world, coming back to the point you made, Alan, the world we live in right now, 2025, when we're going to bring thrash metal to Lisburn.
Yes.
I just thought, this is just a reminder that there's wonderful people. Everybody can be different, but we can all love different things. And it's just a lovely film. Sarah, what about you? Are you a Rocky Horror fan?
I am. My mum was a massive Rocky Horror fan, so we've been to see the stage show together, and like, you know, when you're sitting with your ma like that. And she actually worked in QFT in the 80s, and that film played and saved QFT from some dark times, but they were so much cleaned up after when they were throwing rice and all that stuff. So I know a lot about Rocky Horror, and I think that the issues the fact that you like it for some reason and you might find it a bit bland, is because of the director. He'll have his own agenda to frame it, but also balancing that up, that the unparalleled access that he has to a lot of the stuff and a lot of the archive and stuff. I really enjoyed it. I found bits of it really poignant, and I think this is, but I don't know why I keep coming back to this, you know, as a part in a big, bold, beautiful journey. Looking back as well, you see Tim Curry, and he's not in the best of health. And I went to see Spinal Tap the week before, Spinal Tap 2. So this sort of like, it was a bit like, oh, everybody's getting older. Oh no, am I? Yes. But I really enjoyed it, and it did show that how important the film was to people, and how art can bring people back together, and subculture, and for a space for people to belong. And what I really loved, as somebody who's an audience development nerd, there's not many of us out there, is that kind of how they were talking through the process of how, you know, they put it on at midnight and 50 people turned, but it was the same 50 people. Yes. And then they all came dressed up, and then there was the shadow cast and all that.
Who perform in front of the cinema screen what's happening. And the call-outs were effectively curated because it was the same people coming back. A good heckle, they would keep the same heckle going. And one of the other things I know is that there's a whole theme running through Banterflix this week about loneliness. And effectively it tackles the people who were feeling lonely, or were seen, they could see themselves, they could go along with kindred spirits, or go along with other people who were nothing like them but would not judge them. And there's something about kind of naming that and owning up to it and actually providing for it that was quite powerful, and which is still, I think, when I look at the stage show, actually quite powerful. If you see who comes out on a Monday night,
Creatures of the Night.
I mean, it's there are all kinds of audiences there.
Just before we move on, one important thing, I know that I learnt from this documentary that there is a statue down under to Richard O'Brien. I want to back the campaign here at Banterflix. There is calls for Patricia Quinn to have a statue here in Belfast. So yes, here at Banterflix, we are getting behind that campaign. So yes, I think we've all agreed on that feature. Strange Journey, the Rocky Horror Story. As we said, it's going to be out on limited release next month, but it will be available on VOD platforms from the 20th of October. And on that digital note, let's move on and wrap up this week's show with our pick of the streams.
You need to make friends. I went here too when I was a kid. You might not believe me right now, but this will be good for you.
So that's a look at the trailer for Elio. It's out on Disney Plus now, pretty quickly after its cinematic release. I know we're already getting the trailers for the next Pixar feature. It didn't find a huge audience at the box office. Brings us, I guess, back to what we were talking earlier on about The Mandalorian and Baby Grogu. Not Baby Yoda, Alan, but Elio, latest from Pixar. Sarah, I'll come with you. Weird and wonderful. Trailer gives us a little bit of the setup for the plot. Sci-fi feature, a lot of nods to Douglas Adams, etc. It reminded me a lot of 80s child that I am, The Last Starfighter. That kind of fun sci-fi adventure. It didn't find an audience at the cinema, but has found an audience on Disney Plus. You're one of those people that have watched it. Did you enjoy it?
I'm a
it's
little
never good when someone...
No, I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I'm a bit out of the loop now. My children are a bit older, and we used to go and see all these. I think possibly we could all agree that maybe Pixar's best days not are behind them. I'm sure they'll come back. But for me, it starts off again with a lonely child and a child trauma. Yep. It's a formula. Here's the story arc. And it was quite fun, and the characters were nice. It was grand. It didn't make me. Well done to everybody involved.
Sarah, I'm just going to say this right now. I don't think that's going on the movie poster. Sara-Gunn Smith, film of an eye. It's grand. I don't think it's going to get there. I like this. In the same way we talked about it. It's been a weird week because I didn't know how I was going to react to this film because I'd heard mixed reviews and I'd heard that it's a bit of a mess and I like when Pixar take risks in that sense and it's been a weird one because they have went back to the well of late. They've done a lot of sequels. We had Inside Out 2. We have another Toy Story movie coming out soon. They have went to sequels for a while and it was sad in the sense that during COVID, remember that, kids? A lot of their features were then released straight to Disney Plus. So we had features like Soul, Turning Red, and then I know there was another involved Vespers, which name has went out of me as we record right now. And part of me wonders, have people now grown accustomed to, well, if I want to watch the latest Pixar film, it's going to be on Disney Plus, so do I need to go to the cinema? Because unfortunately, sometimes it's not the cheapest thing to go and take, particularly a young family, to go see the latest Pixar film where it could be a lot cheaper to watch it at home. I like this. I thought it was sweet. I think it's as I come back to that point, it's Pixar doing something a bit different, taking a punt. I don't think it works. There's nods to all those kind of 80s sci-fi movies that I love. As I mentioned, there's big nods to The Last Starfighter, which I'll always big up. And there's a lot of references in there to Douglas Adams and that kind of quirky sense of humor. It's not top tier Pixar for me, but I thought it was fine. Alan?
Grand, fine.
Grand.
Well, the movie poster's slightly better on Jim. I'm not sure they're going to be much better with me. I enjoyed this. I completely missed the fact that this was at the cinema. Clearly beginning of the summer or something, and there wasn't much buzz about it. And I can see why there probably wasn't. But I think Pixar at its best, it's kind of when it deals with loss and death, when it deals with teaching young and old kind of some important life lessons that might be kind of useful for later on. Dealing with what it's like living as a minority or growing up through adversity or not everything being the same as everybody else around you. And so in this case, a little fella who's orphaned living with his aunt, kind of losing his sense of identity through his loss of his little kind of pet language that his parents and he could talk in, but they're not around any longer. And it magically does this through aliens and being mistaken for being the Earth. Due to a small mistake, Earth has got renamed as Earth as the kind of global ambassador for that, and having to negotiate and do a killer deal, which seems like a bit of a kind of a nod to Trump in the middle of everything. It feels, it's got ham radio. I never got my license, but I do hang around with people who do have it. And so for the ham radio nerds to kind of win the day is often a good thing. It feels very blokey. It feels very male and masculine in some ways. There are a couple of women in it, but actually very few. I think that's maybe a little bit of a failing, though we do have a female astronaut, so I mean that's pretty good. I love the fact that it talks about Voyager. Now it gets the Voyager space probe completely wrong, but that's artistic license. And so it brought me this film appeals to me in lots of different ways. I quite enjoyed it. Sitting on my own, kind of watching it on the TV. It's definitely not Pixar's best work, but actually it's nothing to be ashamed of. But it's a surprise maybe that these things can just disappear at the box office. But do well probably on Saturday morning when it's raining and you can hit the button and watch it.
Nothing to be ashamed of. This poster's incredible.
Yeah.
Disney, if you're watching, we are available for quotations for the poster. So yeah, a mixed bag for our final feature for the night, and I think we are out of time. We've talked a lot this week about loneliness, but yeah, a lot of big things. So yeah, I think, Alan, as you said, three lovely films this week. I think we can agree on that. Maybe I don't love them all as much as some of you, but yeah, three lovely films this week. But look, we are out of time, so all that's left for me to do now is thank my lovely guests. So thank you very much, Sarah.
You're so welcome.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Good to be here.
Thanks very much for watching at home. We'll be back next week with another episode, but for now, until then, goodbye.